Hi, so this morning we're going to be talking with Kamral Hassan, who is a speaker and coach, and he's based in Bangladesh. And I'm just waiting for him to join in this call right now. His vision is to spread the word around the world about how we do things and global success. So I'm just waiting for Kamral to join our call right now. Hi Claire, we're just waiting for Kamral to join into the conversation right now. Kamral, are you there? It's a beautiful day here in Northern Ireland. The sun is shining outside the window and it's really, really pretty. Just waiting for Kamral to give me a sign that you were there. Ah, there he is. Hi Asli, thanks for watching. I see Kamral is just
Hello.
joining in now. Hi Kamral. Yay, we
So,
got it working.
yep, good. So,
Technology, trying to get a hold of it.
yep,
It's an interesting one.
absolutely. So finally, it's working here. Good,
It
good
is,
that,
yes.
yeah.
Brilliant.
So
Brilliant.
you can settle it down. Hi, Ashley. So yeah, already I can see some of the friends who are logged into.
Yes, happy.
So
Yes. Yes, we
Adnan
had
Masood.
intended to do this on Kamral's profile, but we had some technical problems. So I don't normally put stuff on my private
No.
profile, but let's share it with everybody. Sab is watching too.
Right. I think, yep, Sab Paris also working from France. I mean, he's in Portugal right now today. I know. So Rajiv, most welcome today. Ifan Hanan Malik. Yep. So thank you for watching. So those who are just watching right now, so welcome to the show. This is Global Success Stories hosted by Kamrul Hassan from Bangladesh. And today I have a special guest from Northern Ireland, Judith.
Yes.
So
Yes.
Judith is award-winning hypnotherapist, and you have so many award under your professional career. And before you started your business, I see you have worked with BBC in London, so where you have
Right.
taken care the trauma lead at the BBC, and you are expert in mental health. So that's your profession once after you leave BBC. So we are really excited to have your story. So, and before that, why we are hosting these global successful stories is basically to create a platform across the world. And the main intention is how we can inspire people anywhere in the world. Once we have the success stories, people can be inspired. Say, for an example, today, my guest is Judith, who is expert in mental health, expert in hypnotherapy, and how it can help us to obtain our personal success. Today, we're going to talk about. Hello, Judith. Welcome to the show.
Hello.
And let's talk about.
Thank you for agreeing to talk to me today, and thank you for everybody who's watching. Shirley runs the local radio station, and she invited me on as a guest recently, and because we just wanted to get the word out there about mental health locally, and anxiety is a subject I'm really passionate about. So we wanted to just let people know that there are resources available if people want to get some help out there.
Absolutely. So let's start. What is actually mental health? So
What exactly is mental health?
Right. Since you have
Okay.
you have worked
It's a
for
broad
BBC.
definition.
Yeah, you have worked for BBC for mental health and leading the trauma lead, and you have many successful cases that you have worked for. So can you share actually what is mental health and what is hypnotherapy all about?
Okay. Well, I practice solution-focused hypnotherapy, and that is a really modern form of hypnotherapy. And what we do is it's based on there's a type of therapy called solution brief therapy, which was designed, it was created in America, and it's used from that, and then we use hypnosis to support it. And what we do is we get the client, if they come, say they're feeling anxious, you know, we would say, what would be your preferred future? How would you like to be? And then that's what we aim to get them to work towards. When I worked at the BBC, I did different job roles. One was, you know, wasn't anything to do with hypnotherapy. First of all, my job was to support productions on safety. And then I slowly got into helping people who were working on productions, who were working on difficult storylines, stories with like traumatic content. I became like a trauma risk advisor. And my job was to give peer support to people working on the programs. I would get them together before they started off filming, and we would talk about what they might be seeing, what they might be, also for the editors, what they might be reviewing in the future as well. And my job was to kind of give them like a peer support, because a lot of people are freelance, and it's quite nice for them to have someone independent from their production to talk to. So my job was to kind of give them a little bit of support, and after the filming, just ask if there was any follow-up advice that they wanted to do. Editors as well are particularly vulnerable if they're having to review this, you know, grim footage over and over again, then you can be exposed to that. So that's what really got me interested in how the brain works. And then I decided, okay, I really like doing these one-to-ones with people, and I wanted to get more in-depth knowledge about how the brain works. So I signed up for a hypnotherapy course, and it was over 10 months, and we did a lot of, you know, I went to quite a prestigious school in London called the Clifton Practice, and we learned a lot about how the brain works. And this was super helpful for me at the time, because I was going through a divorce. And it kind of, you know, when you understand more about how your brain is working, you can really kind of gauge your emotions to stop you from slipping to that negative part of your brain. You can keep in check and think, oh yes, that's that part of my brain that's kind of promoting that negative response. And then you learn strategies about how to shift yourself back into the positive. We call this the intellectual part of our brain.
Okay, pretty interesting. That I see that solution-focused hypnotherapy uses proven techniques of a combination of NLP, mindfulness, and the latest brain-based theories from the neuroscientist. So I see there is neuro-linguistic programming, then you got to practice the mindfulness, and you got to see the brain-based theories. Can you explain the whole gamut of this facet of hypnotherapy and how it really helps that you're talking about, you know, to have a better life, so be happier version of you. So what is the correlation between all of this?
Okay, so what happens, hi Jennifer, so what happens whenever our brain is in a kind of a stress state, we kind of like sometimes get stuck in a bit of a rut, don't we? We kind of focus on the problem. And what happens with hypnotherapy is we allow the brain to come into a nice, relaxed state. There's something we use with hypnotherapy, we call it trance. And that is something which is really powerful, but it's something we do every single day in our life. It's a bit like if you're driving home from work, for example, and your mind wanders off into a daze, and you go off into a wonderful daydream, and then you arrive at your front door and you're like, I don't remember anything about that journey. That's a little bit what trance is like. It's a bit like having a lovely daydream. And when the brain is in a nice, relaxed state, what happens is the mind can wander. And what we do is we teach the brain to relax. We use something called progressive muscle relaxation, where we teach the body to relax if our mind can't switch off. And then the client gets to hear some stories. So it's a little bit like, you know, when you're at school and you are looking out of the classroom window and you're daydreaming and you're thinking, wouldn't it be wonderful if I could be an astronaut when I'm grown up? your mind is going off in that creative way. And that's what happens. What we do is we allow the brain to wander off, and then the brain finds this soothing, and it gets to find its own solutions. And through repetition, as the brain finds that really soothing, then it starts to form new connections within the brain. The neuroscientists call this neuroplasticity. So we get physical changes inside the brain through the repetition. And it creates this new association. It hears the music, it hears like the sound, the familiar sound of the hypnotherapist. And it starts to, every time it hears, even if it feels it's the same stories, the brain picks up on different stuff and it enters into their subconscious.
Okay. Is it something like the brain creates the imprint, right? The blueprint. So brain does not recognize whether we are imagining something or it is real, right? So as long as repetition comes, so brain takes probably as it's real. Is it something neuro-linguistic programming? The brain gets programmed as we think, as we imagine again and again, and then it brings the reality in the world? Is it how?
A little bit like we create habits, don't we?
Absolutely.
We create habits. A bit like, say, someone who is, I don't know, someone who smokes, or someone who eats a lot of like, sugary food or whatever, or, people who develop OCD and they kind of do the same habits over and over again. The brain is a part of our brain called the amygdala. And the amygdala promotes this response. It says, it kind of remembers how we dealt with a different situation. It might remember, well, okay, when you do, like, for example, public speaking, you might get really nervous because it remembers a time in the past whenever you maybe got really nervous. So it gives you that same prompt again and again. It's really good at propaganda. So what we want to do is we want to try and break that response because it's formed in part of our brain. We call it the primitive part of our brain. And we want to develop some new connections. So we want to kind of shift. We want to allow a bit like you've heard the saying, if we don't use it, we lose it, right?
Absolutely.
So parts of our brain that we don't need, we allow that to kind of wither away. And then we want to develop and enhance the parts of our brain which we want to strengthen. So we can use like suggestive words as well if somebody wants to feel more confident. And we allow that. What we do is we shift them back from being in that primitive part of our brain where the amygdala can be the driving force. I mean, the first part of the reason why we have an amygdala is to look out for danger. That goes back to that primitive response of fight, freeze, or anger. And it thinks it's keeping us alive. But sometimes we need to do day-to-day stuff. We don't want to have that stress response every time the phone rings or if an email arrives. We want to be able to deal with those situations. So what we do in solution-focused hypnotherapy is we work on emptying what we call the stress bucket of life. We have a stress bucket. Everyone has a stress bucket, and all the different stuff goes into it.
Correct, stress bucket. So first you try to release this, right? And then this is all the negativity, right? All the depression, all the subconscious program that we carry from the very childhood memories, right? The bucket gets filled up, and
it gets filled up,
and that creates our belief system. That creates our our internal belief pattern. Yes, I can do that. I cannot do that. Maybe I have a migraine. Maybe I have I cannot achieve that. So these are the beliefs. That is someone else's thought, someone else's belief, someone else's understanding about life, and then that is, you're talking bucket, isn't it? The bucket.
Yeah, it can be different. Yeah, it could be all the stuff goes in the bucket. It might be you're worrying about your mom. It might be, oh, my knee's giving me pain. It might be, I've got to go and do a meeting and work. It might be all the stuff that you've had as a child, maybe those stuff that you've mentioned. It can be all those different stuff. Can just fill up, and then that bucket can overflow. So we use a method to empty that bucket, and that is using the hypnotherapy recordings. It mimics what happens when we go to sleep. We have the REM, the rapid eye movement. When you see someone sleeping and their eyes are flickering.
Yep.
It mimics that. And when we do that, then it allows our brain to process all the events that have during the daytime and empty that stress bucket. So when we wake up, we feel more refreshed because every time we're thinking about or we're worrying about stuff, it's creating this, filling up that bucket again.
Okay. So what we understand from the layman point of view, that we have two parts of the brain, conscious and subconscious. And what we also know that 95% of our time we are driven by subconscious mind. So that is the memory that we carry. Replace this subconscious mind that we're carrying forward through the hypnotherapy and how.
So you broke up a tiny bit there. You were talking about the subconscious mind.
Subconscious, because we are driven by 95% of our time, driven by subconscious, kind of autopilot, right? The bad memories, and then the, maybe some other things, the fear, the anxiety. So how do you eliminate this part from the subconscious mind and fill in the new habit? What is that process?
Okay, well, what we do is we empty the stress bucket and then we get them back in control. So then the brain starts to shift back into the intellectual part of our brain. And when we're in our intellectual part of our brain, we can make we can make conscious decisions.
Okay.
For what we want to do. So it's kind of like a process of shifting from one part of our brain back to the other part. So we're more in control rather than just listening to that prompt.
Okay. So
over again.
Is that something, the logical brain you're talking about, that when we make decisions, that what we want out of our life?
Yes. Yeah, the intellectual part of our brain is where we kind of make conscious decisions. It's it's kind of like the real you, really. It's you at your best. It's you, being able to do all the different stuff that you want to do. And that's where we are. That's where we want to be. We don't want to be driven by that negative part of our brain, which creates fear, which creates anger, which creates anxiety or depression. We want to get back into our true being.
So in order to be the real myself, that we have so many intentions, so many desires, so that of our desire, isn't it? How we manifest, like you were talking about creating the habit. So once we can create habit, the brain gets the pattern, and then habit makes us the reality. Is that something you're talking about? It brings the reality once we create the habit, through hypnotization. This entire process, right? So the things I was getting something. Can you please also habit and then manifestation through this therapy?
Sorry, we're breaking up a little bit. You were talking about habits there. So say someone I know has, I don't know, let me think of an example, has a fear of, I don't know, driving or something like that. What we do, it's a
fear of public speaking.
We work to fear of public speaking. Okay, for example, yes. So I had a client recently who came to me who said, I'm terrified of interviews. I have to do a speech. And my normal reaction is I want to run out of the room. So that's obviously the amygdala on high drive, giving you that fear response, giving you that runaway response. So what we did was I gave her my recording to listen to start to empty her stress bucket. And we talked about a lot about the brain. And so when we kind of have an understanding about the brain, then we can choose our reaction to events better. Sometimes it feels like a bit of a weight off your shoulders when you realize, oh, it's not just me, it's just that part of my brain. And then what we did was I gave her some practical exercises to do to help her overcome this. And then she went for her interview and she said it went well. I don't know whether she got the job, but she said she was able to show up and do her presentation. So I was absolutely delighted for her because she was...
A lot of us, we actually, suffer from procrastination, right? It's a common pattern of a human being, right? Every one of us. How it does help to procrastination? Solution-based hypnotherapy that you are practicing. Can you tell?
For procrastination.
Yeah, the beating procrastination by your services of solution-based hypnotherapy. How it helps?
Okay, well, what we would do the same process. We would get them started with listening to the recording. They would have an understanding. And what the brain likes is it likes little nudges. If you know, say you were procrastinating doing exercises and you were to set your brain a challenge of saying, okay, you have to run like 5 miles and you've never done exercise, your brain's going to go, hang on a minute, that's far too much. So we give it like little kind of steps. We nudge it. And what we do during our sessions is we set, we use something called the miracle question, where we set up what the client would like to be if a miracle had happened, and we set little kind of measurable goals. So the brain doesn't feel like it's too overwhelming, because if something's too overwhelming, it will go back into that default setting.
Right.
So we allow the brain to take little steps. And even when the client's on the couch during trance, their brain's wandering around and finding new solutions.
Oh, so this is called...
So it's doing it in nice steps.
The small bite-sized step, right? So a lot of us, we really fear...
Yes, it's like little nudges.
That means breaking...
It's a bit like...
Like, say, for an example, I have a dream. Maybe I would be scared, right? There, but as you are saying that, if I can break my dream into smaller pieces and every day I take action, maybe my brain would say, yes, you can do it. Is it something like this?
If you have a dream...
Yep.
If you have a dream, you know, I don't know, say you want to do something massive, your brain kind of goes, well, how do I get from A to B? It's a bit like saying, okay, I'm in Northern Ireland. If I want to get to Dublin, I need to know how I'm going to get there. So I want my brain almost to create like this virtual sat-nav system of how I'm going to get there, you know?
Okay.
Do I need to stop on the way? Do I need to have a respite break? What journey? So it's giving like a clear picture. And sometimes the brain can't find its way from A to B because it's in such a stressed state. But when we give it clear milestones as to where it's going, it can find its way along that route. And that's what we do during our sessions with the client, is we allow them to form a picture and get the brain having more clarity about how it wants to get from A to B, whatever success means to them, because everybody's coming for something different. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. So what we also know that brain releases the different oxytocin, serotonin, dopamine, the feel-good chemical, right? These are the guided path, right? When we take action, then we feel good. Maybe brain maybe releases dopamine, right? If I'm correct, that's how it works, right? You take them through. Yep.
So what we want to do is we want to have less of the stress hormones, like less of the cortisol, less of the adrenaline. And we want to have more of the good stuff. We want to have more of the good neurotransmitters. The one we know about the most is serotonin. And
serotonin,
what we do is we get, serotonin. The oxytocin is obviously the love hormone, and the dopamine. Sometimes people come also
feel good
with but also sometimes people come for food, maybe like they're eating too much sugar, or maybe they're coming for smoking. And sometimes we talk a little bit about dopamine there, because whenever, you might have that first cigarette in the morning, you're creating an association. You think, oh, I'm getting that feel-good factor. But we'll talk a lot about, I explain with my clients a lot about, the brain and the different chemicals and where we can get the serotonin naturally, where we can get the oxytocin naturally, where we can get dopamine, so they understand. But the main thing is when we're less stressed, having less of the stress hormones, and we're doing more of the stuff that we enjoy, then we're allowing the brain to produce these chemicals.
So it's very, very interesting. So what I understand then, inside our brain, it's a factory, right? You can produce whatever it wants, whatever we want. It just need to tap in the right path, and that's what you do. Your solution.
Yes, we teach the client about the brain, and then we allow the brain to start to create the pathways of what we want. If you were to actually look at the brain after a period of time, whenever neuroplasticity is taking place, you can actually see the physical changes that are taking place. And that's what we want. We want to strengthen the new good stuff. And just allow the bad stuff, the stuff we don't need anymore. It's a bit like sometimes you think about it when you're a child and you get given a new pair of shoes and you think they're absolutely amazing, these shoes. You love them to death. And then after a few months, they start to nip at you, don't you? They start to become a little bit too tight. And then you're like, Mom, can I have a new pair of shoes? These are really hurting me. You've outgrown them. And sometimes we hold on to habits and beliefs and, you know, things that aren't serving us well anymore. Maybe in the past they did, but now as an adult or whatever stage you are in your life, it doesn't matter how old you are, you decide that you don't need that anymore. So we decide we're going to let go of that and focus on building whatever they want to be, whatever it is.
Okay.
And it's, you don't have, you can even be in your 70s or 80s. It really doesn't matter. You can be whatever age you are to allow change to happen.
Okay. So what else can be done through this solution-based? A lot of us, we are having...
Okay.
I think you got it, my question. The sleep, a lot of us, we have very distorted sleep. Yeah. So what else we can do through this solution-based hypnotherapy?
Yeah, sometimes people come for something completely different and then they find as a side effect their sleep improves. Or sometimes people come for something quite unrelated and then they kind of go, oh, well, actually, my tinnitus isn't so bad, or I've stopped biting my nails. So it can help with a whole lot of different stuff. Things like anxiety, depression, anger, grief. It can also be really helpful with grief. It's good for weight. It's good for smoking. I've had people who want to kind of cut down or give up alcohol. It can help with phobias.
Okay.
So whatever, you know, it might be flying or lots of different phobias. It can help with confidence, self-esteem. It can help with things like IBS related to stress. Lots of different areas.
That's pretty interesting, because a lot of us in this part of the world, and also the confidence. And as a matter of low self-esteem, we suffer on a confidence level, and then it does not allow us to take action, whatever we want, because we fear, because we don't have confidence. So how long it might take, say for an example, I come to you and I want to overcome this, and how long it might take to beat this low esteem, to have the confidence, and to take steps, like how long it might take to go and from this stage A to stage B?
It really depends on the individual. What I do first of all is I do an initial consultation with the client that lasts an hour. So then we talk a lot about the brain. And then typically for like confidence, self-esteem, it really depends. Some people come maybe for like 5 or 6 sessions. Some people might come for less. Some of my clients just really maybe they come initially for a weekly, and sometimes they just want to have a top-up like every few months, or sometimes people just come and see me once a year. It really depends, but generally maybe for that maybe about 5 or 6 sessions.
So then we can create the habit, like you're talking about, the creating neuropath in the brain. So brain trying to understand, so what is this neuropath, what is this new spot created, right, out of this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 atoms. So then automatically it takes it forward. That's how we take it, right? So once we, like, it's a kind of acting, and then it takes on acting as a regular pattern, and then it builds.
Yes, so it's creating the momentum. So we're starting off emptying the stress bucket, and then each week they come, we create whatever goal. We focus each time on what the client's best hopes are. Sometimes it might be different each week, so we kind of focus on whatever it is that they want. So it's very tailored to the individual, but the end goal is to get them to whatever they want to be.
So that
And I
is
know
actually
because,
ultimate.
sorry,
Yeah.
go ahead.
Yeah, carry on. So that is
No, I was just saying,
ultimately, carry on.
No, I'm just saying, I know because I've had hypnotherapy myself whenever I was training, and I know it works. It is a really enjoyable experience. So many people get misled in that they think it's kind of like you're taking control of their brain, a bit like stage hypnotists. But it's not like that. Clinical hypnotherapy is very different. It's like a relaxing, it's a really enjoyable experience, and you can be completely aware of what's going on, and sometimes your mind's wandering off, but then you come back. So I just wanted to get that message out there because some people are frightened to come because they think that you're taking, total control of their brain.
It's actually the mental health, right? That we kind of consider always the outer part of the health, the physical part. So we consider also healthy eating. So brain also needs to have healthy, healthy things, healthy thought, and healthy ideas. And how we get it, like once we practice it, because you were saying that our buckets are full of darkness, full of fear, full of anxiety, full of depression, full of a lot of other stuff. So as per this solution-based hypnotherapy, if I'm understanding you correctly, that you kind of first understand where it is, then you clean it, and then you pour into good thoughts and behaviors and approach, right? And then build on the momentum, and then the brain takes it forward. So that's a guided way of dealing.
Yeah, so we work, empty the stress bucket, the brain wanders off, coming back and forward. We can use some suggestions, and then we do obviously the talking part before we get them on the couch as well, to get the brain kind of thinking about what it is that they want to achieve.
Can you take one or two questions? I have a
Yeah, I was
question
just going to
here.
say that Naima has a question. I was
Yep.
just trying to read it.
Can we use hypnotherapy to change how a person feels the next time he or she faces something discomforting? So that means feeling and facing discomforting. How to change it?
Okay. Well, the brain receives a huge amount of information all the time. It's just like we'll get positive stuff coming in, we'll get negative stuff coming in. We can't stop those thoughts, but we can choose our reaction to them whenever we know about things, when we understand things better. Sometimes what happens, people come to me with anxiety, and then they come for a while and then they don't feel that anxiety. But sometimes you might get some thoughts that come through, but you can kind of decide, when we do this discussion about the primitive part of our brain, we can say, actually, okay, I don't need to hear that. That's a good suggestion, but I'm going to choose something else. So it kind of gets us more in control. We can't necessarily stop all the thoughts from coming in, because the brain just is like a sponge and just soaks them up. But they might not be as prevalent, but we build on your inner resources and your inner strength.
Great. So what I would do, so if anyone interested to have your contact, so is it okay that I put your contact detail and your website, so that if anyone interested
Absolutely, yeah.
all right.
Yeah.
So, okay. So I'll put it on the comment below, or also on the description today after having this session. So a lot of you who would be listening to us later on or today, so this is for your info. You see the globe behind me. So what I'm trying to actually do, building a global platform. So where we bring the global success stories from all over the world, not only the Bangladeshi success stories. So how we can inspire ourselves listening these success stories. Once we bring all these stories, I believe personally that people would be inspired. A lot of people, they would be able to take action, because this nation, Bangladesh, it has a lot of enormous potentiality. And I believe that if we can encourage by bringing these success stories from all over the world, we as a nation can be succeeded. We can be, grow where today. And I believe that this is the nation that need to be watched in the next couple of decades, because of the potentiality, because of the age we are going, the information technology, the people, and the generations. So I thought, if I can bring these global success stories from all over the world, and my mission is I want to bring from 100 countries the success stories, And I believe that it would help. And I must thank you, Judith, so for your time, for your passion, for your contribution today with this show. And a lot of who are listening, just for your thought, Judith is an award-winning uh, uh, hypnotherapist who earlier worked with BBC and led a department for trauma, and also worked for mental health. Now she is doing her own in Northern Ireland, and it's phenomenal work. One last thought from you, Judith, before we end this session.
Thank you so much, Cameron, for taking the time to interview me. And thank you for everybody who stayed to listen to this whole talk. It's really, really kind of you to listen to this talk. And we just want to get the message out there that if you are struggling, you're not alone. There's so many people out there who are struggling, and you do have the potential for change. You do not have to be stuck. There are people out there, good people out there, who can help you. And if you, I mean, this was on my private profile, but if you go to my business profile, Judith Ward Hypnotherapy, my Facebook page, I do post other videos on there, so you might find something insightful in there in the future. But thank you again.
Thank you so much. It's my pleasure. I believe, and I certainly believe that this will help us, because as you said, the world is abundant. We just need to look for the solution. We just need to wish to have what we want to have. And this particular set of knowledge based on mental health is certainly very essential to our success. And I deeply believe it. And I deeply thank you for bringing this story to us. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Carol.
Thank you.
Take care. Have a beautiful day. And thank you, everybody, for listening. Ashley, Jennifer, James. Speak to you soon. Take care. Bye, everybody.
Take care. Bye-bye.